General Ehsan, I want to get to the first question. What is your assessment of the Doha peace process, and what are the challenges, and how should Pakistan tackle India's negative role in Afghanistan?
Well, the first thing is that given the conflict in Afghanistan and its protraction over the last 4 decades, everybody should view Doha and the prospects of peace in Afghanistan positively. Because although, in my view, it's the first step towards moving or achieving peace in Afghanistan and commencing a full-fledged peace process in Afghanistan. But I think it's a very important first step for a deal or an agreement between the United States and the Taliban. And I think this is the first and most significant opportunity and breakthrough for peace in Afghanistan that we have witnessed in the last couple of decades. I am very positive. I feel that given the realities in Afghanistan, the the various stakeholders in Afghanistan have no other option but to avail of this opportunity and move towards lasting peace in Afghanistan. Let me add also that there was no military solution in Afghanistan. And we have seen this conflict spread over the last 2 decades because a military solution was being sought. In some ways, Pakistan's position on Afghanistan and on our position on a peaceful solution in Afghanistan stands vindicated. Because right after 9/11, this is exactly what we said. There is no military solution. Then over the years, we continue to say that unless the withdrawal of foreign forces is on the table, there cannot be a solution. There can't be a political resolution. And we have seen down the line, this is exactly what happened. So I view this as a very, very positive development, and I am confident that it will lead to lasting peace in that country, something for which Pakistan has been totally committed from the outset, and for which we have really sacrificed over the years. Now, coming on to the role of India, and let me say it in a broader sense. As we looked at the prospects of peace in Afghanistan, and as the peace process started, I am on record saying it on the media, and this has been also Pakistan's position, that the peace process will have challenges in 4 dimensions. And these dimensions are, first, there will be a challenge in Washington, D.C. The domestic politics of the United States will try and undermine this. And we are witnessing that all along. There are domestic US political issues coming up. The latest being the issue of the so-called Russian bounties on American military personnel. And let me be a little cynical. In fact, bounties and head monies are a part of the US culture. And it is they who mainstreamed and, in fact, gave acceptability to head monies and bounties for citizens from Afghanistan, citizens from Pakistan, citizens from Arab countries, citizens from Iran, and many other countries. So it is somewhat, you know, poetic justice that is now being debated in Washington, that there are bounties being put on the military, the US military personnel in Afghanistan. Now, the second dimension of this challenge to the peace process would be in Kabul. And we are finding that. We are finding the resistance to the release of the Taliban prisoners. We are finding escalation in violence and the so-called offensive by the Afghan Defense Forces. That is the second element. And of course, the Afghan domestic politics are coming in the way. The third dimension, we always said, would be in the region. And the regional powers who see an advantage in the continuation of conflict in Afghanistan, particularly India. They think this paradigm of conflict, this paradigm of foreign presence in Afghanistan is the opportunity on which they had piggybacked to develop their influence in Afghanistan. And they feel that if there is a peace process and if the peace process succeeds and there is no more foreign military presence in Afghanistan, then their ability to dominate and retain a dominating influence in Afghanistan will not be there anymore. And the fourth dimension we thought would be amongst the Taliban also. There have been some reports, but I think most of them are misplaced. One perception that is being thrown around is that the rise of Mullah Yaqub in the Afghan Taliban hierarchy is indicative of some infighting. Well, my information is that it's not so. I think he has come up because of his capabilities and of course also because he is the son of Mullah Omar. His credentials for having an important position in the Taliban leadership are very sound. But obviously, as the peace process moves on, we should expect that these challenges will continue to be around. Now, specifically coming to India, I think we have to be very careful. Pakistan's position has been that we have no problems. Afghanistan is an independent country. It has the right to have relations with any other country, number one. Second, we have no objection to the Indians, supporting economic development in Afghanistan. But obviously, we are very seriously concerned where India exploits and uses its presence in Afghanistan to destabilize Pakistan's two western provinces in particular. And we have seen its support to the BLA and the recent attack on the Pakistan Stock Exchange in Karachi by the BLA, which clearly has the fingerprints of the Indian intelligence service RAW on it. And we also have Pakistan is well aware that these elements are operating out of Afghanistan as a consequence of connivance by the Afghan intelligence and the Indian intelligence. And the most unfortunate aspect of this is that the US has substantial intelligence capabilities in Afghanistan, but unfortunately, they are overlooking these activities that are coming out of Afghanistan against Pakistan, and these are being ignored.
Mr. Athar Javed, would you like to add your observation to what General Ehsan just said? And would you like to ask a question to the General?
To be honest, because as we all know globally as well, he is authority on these subjects. I would like to just maybe ask more to Sir, and maybe his analysis would help us to understand further. that there is an issue, as you said, about that the US has substantial intelligence on activities of RAW and the connivance with NDS. And also the placement, everybody knows, in different ministries and advisors in the Interior Ministry, Intelligence Ministry. Is there a possibility the US at some point would understand that this would undermine their own efforts to establish peace? If they really want to establish peace, then they must support Taliban and Afghan government and to neutralize these elements, because these elements is projected by the Afghan government that they are like rogue elements at their own, but it is not correct. So maybe, sir, would you like to shed light on this further to open it up more to for us to understand, are there more underlying problems here?
Yes. As I said, as we looked at the prospects of a peace process, it was very clear, not only in Pakistan, but internationally, that there would be challenges. And the most profound challenges, I said, would be in the US domestic politics and in Kabul. Now, in Kabul, over the last 20 years, there's a very large and very influential segment of Afghanistan's leadership, political leadership, and other segments of the society who have developed a stake in the continuation of the conflict and violence. And they feel that any change in this paradigm would be to their disadvantage. Now, and you find these elements are entrenched in very important positions, and they have made no secret about their opposition to the peace process. The most clear example is that of Mr. Amrullah Saleh, the former head of the Afghan NDS, and he happens to be the vice president of Afghanistan. Even President Ashraf Ghani knows, and I'm sure any American who has any exposure to the Afghan situation is very well aware of Amrullah Saleh's views on the peace process, his intense animosity towards Pakistan and the normalization of relations between Pakistan and Afghanistan, and a hardline approach even on ethnic issues to the disadvantage of the Pashtuns. So these are well known. I mean, he is the vice president. There are many other such people in the Afghan political hierarchy, in the intelligence hierarchy, in the military hierarchy, people who would like to drag down this process. And it is reflected in some serious incidents, serious security incidents in Afghanistan in the last few months, ever since the peace deal was signed on 29th of February. You found that there was this attack on the Sikh temple, Gurdwara as it's called. Then there was an attack on the children's hospital. And we have found that these ultimately were not related to, nobody suspected the Taliban of having done that. So there are question marks as who is behind these. Also, there is a sense amongst these elements who oppose or would like to retard this peace process, that if they can delay it till the next US election in November, then maybe if there is a new president elected in the United States, or there is a change of priorities of President Trump on his Afghanistan policy, then they expect that they may have an opportunity to continue with their present position of domination of the Afghan scene and able to safeguard their stakes in Afghanistan.